Right, let's get straight into our leading story. 4 additional manholes are now being explored by emergency service workers in an attempt to try and find 6-year-old Khayalethu Magadla, who disappeared in Soweto a week ago. Now, some residents in the area are still hopeful he will be found. Our reporter Malungelo Booi is monitoring the situation for us. Malungelo, very good afternoon to you. It's a really sad moment as the search is now continuing. And, of course, dashing hopes of perhaps finding the young boy alive.
Perhaps let's start at what you said initially about those 4 extra manholes that were found today. In fact, those manholes were found because of drones that were being used by officials around this particular area. This is where the incident took place, so they discovered those manholes. The reason why they decided to search for further manholes, is because they say that this particular area used to be an informal settlement, and therefore they wanted to make sure that before they move elsewhere or expand their search elsewhere, that they have satisfied themselves that Khayalethu is not here. Remember, yesterday they were telling us that there's about 8 manholes that they had to explore in this particular area that fall part of that massive pipeline which they initially believed that this little boy may have fell into, but unfortunately their search so far has not yielded any results, but they're continuing, as you rightfully indicated, to explore then in those 4 extra manholes that were discovered this morning by authorities. They're hoping that they'll find the little boy. And I must say, Mpo, that people here are well aware that this is no longer a search and rescue operation. It is now a search and recovery operation. I was talking to one of the local residents, Umama Urenet Dlamini, saying that this incident has not only left, the family of the little boy devastated and traumatized, it has also left community members in Dlamini traumatized. Let's take a listen.
Sizizathu traumatized lento yehlile singumphakathi asikwazi nokubheka masihleli la sibona ngathi sizombona aqhamuka yazi. Yeah. Kubuhlungu kakhulu baba, kubuhlungu. Asikwazi nokwenzani sabo makhelwane, silibele siyeza nje sizobheka, siyabaxhasa ifamily nomphakathi sibaningi nje kuza bonke abantu nje everyday kuhlala kunabantu. Yeah, ukuthi nabo bangafeel lonely.
Renette Dlamini there, Mpo. She's one of the many residents from Dlamini that have been coming to the scene to look at the work of these emergency officials, coming here to also pray that these officials who have been busy over the past 7 days, really, praying that they ultimately make that breakthrough. But unfortunately, there haven't been a breakthrough that has been made as yet. But emergency personnel telling us also that they will actually not give up in their search, saying that they essentially don't have a time frame on when they will complete this search, saying that they'll only leave this site and end their operation once little Khayalethu Magadla has essentially been found. And of course, that's the hope of the local residents and the family of this little boy, that boy is ultimately recovered.
Malu, I suppose this also now takes one back to questions around accountability and questions around why that manhole was open in the first place. In terms of getting some clarity around that part, what are we looking at?
Well, if you talk to some of the local residents, some of the local residents were saying that manhole had been open for a while, and they believe that it was Newzroom Booi who essentially removed the lead of that manhole, because they're saying that Newzroom Booi in some cases would go inside those manholes in order to look for valuables like jewelry. Remember, some of the water that goes through in these manholes, it's water that comes from people's homes, it could be people's homes, and they believe that in some instances they would get jewelry and other valuables, and that's why then that manhole had been open for a while, and people are angry, in fact, that it had been open for that long without authorities essentially closing it. But if you go next to that manhole now, you'd find that it is completely sealed, and residents are saying that it's something that should have been done long time ago. But of course, you and I know this is not the first incident to happen, at least here in Gauteng. Last year, a young boy also fell into a manhole in Orange Farm, and that little boy was ultimately found in Everton, several kilometers away from where he is. And that's why also we're hearing from residents in this particular area saying that they would want to see, the emergency personnel here in this operation also expanding or extending their search to other areas around the Dlamini.
Very well, Malungelo Booi, let's leave it there for now, of course, as we continue to bring you the latest coming out of this developing story in Soweto.